Welcome to the Hardwood Hawgs Podcast. I'm your host, Mason Choate, joined by JC Hoops, Jackson Collier. You know him well, and we're very, very thankful to have Jackson on with us on the podcast, to have him as part of the team over at HawgBeat.com. Go to HawgBeat.com, HawgBeat.com, for all of the best Arkansas athletics coverage out there. A lot of great stuff going on. Jackson released the top 10 greatest Razorback basketball players of all time on Tuesday. And let's just go ahead and say, everybody was happy about it. I don't think I saw one person or maybe a former player that was upset about it. So I think that overall your list was a success, Jackson.
Yeah, it was a wild success. It was really cool because I worked so hard on it and put a lot of time and effort into it. And it was 100 players that I ranked in order, and I had plenty of people throughout the entire release process doing one a week, like saying, "Oh, I can't believe this guy's here. Wow, he's higher than I would have thought." And the debate has always been really fun. And then the top 10, like I knew going into that I was never, I wasn't going to win because everybody's like, oh, there's team Corliss, there's team Todd Day, there's team Sidney Moncrief. But outside of one or two instances, most of it was just good, fun debate. And I really enjoyed hearing that. And I think my favorite response that I got from a lot of people was like, oh, this list really made me think about players I had not thought about in a long time, and it brought back some really great memories, and that made me feel good too. So it was really fun. I really enjoyed putting it together and really enjoyed the dialogue that came with it.
Well, it was always cool to see the actual players on the list interact with it as well. Like Bobby Portis quote tweeted it yesterday, said that he was just kind of blessed to be on a list like that. We saw Rodney Clark, who, I posted the day that we were dropping the edition with Rodney Clark in it and asked, where do you think Rodney Clark should rank? And there were a lot of people that were really mad, and understandably so. I get it. I was upset when Rodney Clark left, but he took it well. And he was like, I met my wife in Fayetteville. I have a great memories of Fayetteville. So it's just cool to see all those former players interact with it. I think that the one thing that I saw the most that people wanted to change was just flip Corliss and Sydney 1 and 2. I think that was the big thing. Do you want to kind of go a little bit more into your decision there?
Yeah, so I mean, it was obviously really hard ranking players that I didn't get to see play. And one of the biggest things that people said was, "Oh, well, you weren't alive. You didn't get to see Sidney Moncrief play. You didn't get to see how good he was for Eddie Sutton and for Arkansas." And that's completely valid and fair. When I was compiling the list and doing initial research and doing my initial rankings and stuff, I edited and changed numbers around a lot, and there was multiple times where I had Sydney number one, and I switched him and Corliss back and forth. I ended up changing it 4 or 5 times before I stuck with the order. And the reason that I ended up sticking with Corliss was because, he's a two-time consensus All-American, most outstanding player in the NCAA tournament champion, almost two-time NCAA tournament champion. He went to the championship game the very next year after winning it. So, I mean, taking those factors in consideration, like when you're looking at a Razorback career, which is what the ranking list was about, was the best players in Razorback history, their Razorback careers. Winning a national championship and almost winning a second one and being a consensus All-American twice and an SEC Player of the Year, I weighed those factors very heavily in choosing and ultimately choosing Corliss. But like I said, it was not an easy decision, and I almost had Sydney there, but he ended up second.
It's fair enough, and you're right about talking about how you didn't watch them play like a lot of people did. But one thing that you did do that I don't think a lot of people know about is you reached out to a lot of journalists who not only, covered some of these guys, but watched them a lot. You talked to a lot of people to try to get their ideas and their thought process on the list as well. So it wasn't just you looking at stats and then saying, okay, well, this guy has better stats or accolades. You reached out to the people who actually watched them. So for those who didn't know that, Jackson, when he says that he did his research, he did it. And it was a fun list. A lot of people enjoyed it. And I'm glad that we were able to do it. I'm glad you were able to do it, Jackson. So let's get into.
I'll do more lists now. We'll start with the all-time football players next. That's a joke. We'll see.
We'll see. That one you might catch a little bit more flack for football just because it's football, but I think I don't know. We're not going to get into that. This is a basketball podcast. So let's get moving on with that. Before we start up what's going on with the Hogs, I want to remind you about our presenting sponsor, and that is DeadSoxy. In the spirit of giving this holiday season, DeadSoxy is giving 10 lucky winners $700 in DeadSoxy premium dress socks plus a $300 DeadSoxy gift card, all inside their sleek luxury briefcase. These are legit socks, awesome socks. They sent us at HawgBeat. They sent the HawgBeat team boxes filled with their socks. We're all wearing them, and we love them. We love DeadSoxy. You can keep the prize for yourself, or you can give it to someone special as a holiday gift, and it will be in your hands before Christmas Day, before the 25th. All the socks are individually packaged, so you can even choose to keep a few and gift a few. What you got to do to enter is go to DeadSoxy.com, go to the giveaway, enter your name and email address, and work your way down to the action list to boost your entry by sharing with friends and family. And you can also join their insider list there. And more winners will be announced on December 16th. So go to DeadSoxy.com, find the giveaway, and you can possibly win $700 in socks and a $300 gift card. Incredible socks, awesome stuff. And also for our listeners only and for HawgBeat subscribers, this is all you get. If you're listening to this podcast, you get this deal. Go to DeadSoxy.com at checkout, use code HAWGS, HAWGS, and you'll get 30% off and free shipping on all orders. There's no minimum. This deal is not available to the general public. This is only for listeners of the Hardwood Hawgs Podcast and subscribers to HawgBeat.com. So take advantage of that as well. DeadSoxy.com. Thank you to DeadSoxy. We love DeadSoxy. All right, Jackson, this basketball team, they got revenge on Oklahoma. I think that was a good win for the team, especially, the game after losing Trevon Brazile, who's out with an ACL injury for the entire season. Unfortunate. You hate it for Trevon. You hate it for this team. He was a big part of the team. His draft stock was growing, game after game. But now they got to figure out how to win without him. And they got step one out of the way, and that was the first game after, and they won without him. What were your overall thoughts?
It's really tough to lose such a vital part of the team and just move on from it. Trevon Brazile was the sixth man off the bench playing almost 30 minutes a game. Like you said, his draft stock was booming. It was climbing. He was playing really well. He spaced the floor. He was shooting 38% from three, explosive around the rim, and a rim protector as well on the other end of the floor. We talked last week about what happens. Like, what do you do to replace those minutes and replace that production? And the first thing I said last week was you're going to have to give Makai Mitchell more minutes. And that's what they've done. When Trevon went down with the injury in that game, Makai ended up finishing that game with 32 minutes. And then against Oklahoma, played like 24 minutes, I believe. Let's see. He played 22 minutes. 22 minutes against Oklahoma.
Yeah. That's fine. I got 21 and a half, but it's fine. You're wrong. Okay. I'm right. It's fine. Go
ahead. But anyway, you give him more minutes because going into or even after he played 32 on the game that Brazile got injured, he was averaging 18 minutes a game. So he's increased his minutes each of the last two. He's been very productive. His stat line against Oklahoma was it was incredible, honestly. It was 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks and a steal, 0 turnovers, only 2 personal fouls. And even 10.6 rebounds doesn't exactly jump off the page necessarily, but when you watch him play, he is the best interior defender that Arkansas has had in a long, long time. He was an immovable object in the post. He really made Tanner Groves not have fun. He shut Tanner Groves completely down. He would not let Tanner Groves back him down. He would guard on the perimeter. He switched he would switch off on a guard, and he forced a turnover on the perimeter. Really, really good defender, and he defends without fouling. He only had 2 personal fouls. And that's the first thing that needed to happen was Makai Mitchell to get more minutes and to step up, and he did just that. And also you had Jordan Walsh. He was 2 for 5 from 3. He scored 12 points. He played his normal, really good defense and high effort. So when you have more minutes and efficient productivity from Makai, you have Jordan Walsh stepping up. That really helps a lot with what the team needed to replace. It's still not you're still not replacing what Trevon Brazile brought, but you're at least easing the blow, and you still have such a talented roster that, if you have other guys step up, I mean, just taking on bigger roles, you can kind of ease the burden a little bit. And that's what happened. And hopefully that can continue to happen. But I was really impressed for the first game without Brazile that, you're going against another high major conference opponent. You are going up on a neutral floor against a team that had your number last year, and you win pretty handily. Arkansas took a lead into halftime. They were up 3 at half, and they never lost that lead. So and they ended up winning by double digits. So I was very impressed with how that ended up happening and how they responded.
Yeah, Makai Mitchell was part of really my favorite 2 plays of the game against Oklahoma, and it was where he would go up there at the top of the key, and then Nick Smith would do that little back cut, and I mean, it was there both times. Perfect, beautiful basketball, and it just came from Makai coming up there, setting a screen, then getting the ball, and then just throwing it to a wide open Nick Smith, and he's really become a threat offensively. I love his aggressiveness down in the paint. He'll back guys in and turn around, and he's just he keeps the mistakes to a minimum. Like, he limits mistakes, and that's what you want from a guy like that. As you mentioned, the defense there in the post, that's something that they haven't really had, and they haven't had this kind of size either. But to have the size to go along with, he's an elite defender, and you also see him, offensively giving you what you need, 10 points. That's great from a guy like Makai Mitchell. So I like him. Jordan Walsh. This was I don't know, it's weird to kind of call it like a breakout game for Jordan Walsh, but we've talked about how Jordan Walsh is raw, and there were just a few things that you needed to see him piece together. Maybe it's starting to click with him, especially without Trevon Brazile. Jordan Walsh, a guy that you're going to have to rely on. But this is kind of more of the Jordan Walsh that we were looking for, kind of like you talked about. And so if you can have him step up like that, along with what you're going to be getting from Nick Smith, who did leave the game late. He said in the press conference on Wednesday that he's fine. He just had some things going on that he had to take care of. So I don't know what that is. I don't want to speculate on that, but it's good to hear that Nick Smith Jr. is okay, and he should be fine going into this game against Bradley in North Little Rock on Saturday. You're going to be there, Jackson. You're going to be covering for us, and I don't know, man. I mean, you're a Central Arkansas guy like myself, but I'm also a pro don't play games in Central Arkansas guy. So where do you stand on that?
Man, I don't want to be too controversial because you say something about playing games in War Memorial, playing games in Little Rock, and people will come for you. Uh, I don't mind it. I mean, it seems like recently, especially for a while, Arkansas hasn't really played its best basketball at I don't even remember what it's called now.
Simmons Bank
Alltel,
Arena.
Verizon, Simmons Bank.
Those are the last 3 names of it, I believe. It went Alltel, then Verizon, now it's Simmons Bank.
Okay, it is Simmons Bank now. I couldn't remember if it changed again, but okay, so it's Simmons Bank Arena. That arena has not been kind to Arkansas. Growing up, I was at the game where they lost to Appalachian State. That was not a fun game. Last year lost to Hofstra. Snuck out a win in Muss's first year with a AGO Bailey block. So we'll see what happens with Bradley's a pretty good team. In my non-conference preview piece, I kind of previewed Bradley as one of the bigger tests as far as the low major or mid-major conference opponents go. Think they were projected to win their conference and all that sort of stuff. They have a good roster. They're shooting 35% from 3 right now. It's going to be a test. I don't think people are going to see a blowout. I don't know if fans are going to expect a blowout. I think fans are kind of jaded with the whole Little Rock games, or North Little Rock games. Yeah, no, as far as Central Arkansas games go, though, in general, I don't hate them. I grew up, I was at the Miracle on Markham, both of them actually. So, those will always be really fond memories I have. But at the same time, I can also understand like not wanting to continue it because the stadium is kind of old and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, but I don't want to take an official stance on pro or con, but I've enjoyed Little Rock games and North Little Rock games so far, and I could understand why they wouldn't continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've made my stance on it pretty clear. I grew up in Central Arkansas in Conway, and I I think that the games in Little Rock, War Memorial is one thing, but when they're playing at Dickey Stevens and when they're playing at Simmons Bank Arena, the if you can't televise it, you don't need to be playing there. That's my big thing. I wouldn't feel as confident about don't play there if they were televising the game. So I think it's unacceptable that they can't televise the game. But that's my thing. So getting more onto the what happens on the court. As far as this game goes, you mentioned Bradley. Their quad 2 opportunity as far as the net goes. And that would be Arkansas's second quad 2 game because Oklahoma was also one. They've played 2 quad 1 games. I actually didn't see where Creighton was ranked today, but I know Bradley was ranked number 70 in the net. Creighton was 50 when I checked last. Are you looking right now, Jackson? Because if they keep moving down, if they move down one more spot to 51, then they turn into a quad 2 game for Arkansas. Have you found it yet? You found it.
They are 48th.
48th. Okay, they moved up. So they're still a quad 1 loss. And then they have the quad 1 win against San Diego State. But yeah, this Bradley team, it's one thing when you were playing a Hofstra team last year, which you shouldn't have lost to, but you did. Now you're playing a Bradley team, a mid-major that's actually good, in Little Rock. So that's two things that don't go well together, playing Little Rock and playing a team that's pretty good as a mid-major. So, but one thing Nick Smith talked about was they don't want to, keep the feeling of games in Little Rock how it is. They want to go show that, it doesn't matter. We're going to win no matter who we play. So I like what I'm hearing from Nick Smith. I like what I'm seeing from Nick Smith. And he's really putting to bed all of those rumors of, this guy just wants to go to the NBA. He doesn't care about playing at Arkansas. He has that passion, Jackson. And I think that we're only going to see him continue to get better. And I think that it's awesome that he has the passion to play for the team and he's not just focused on the NBA like a lot of people thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, going on your first comment too, if there is a Razorback team who is going to handle business in Little Rock, I would think it's this team. As talented as it is, and the work ethic we've seen and how hard they play and the emotion that they play with, I feel like this roster in particular is going to be a team that takes care of business in North Little Rock. Talking about Nick though, man, I love how emotional he is on the court. I mean, he is fired up. He is fiery. I mean, he and Muss almost have that same kind of just energy about themselves. They get pumped up over anything. It's almost like he has a natural leadership quality within his energy, and it's great to see, and I love it. And he's mentioned multiple times in different press conferences or interviews or whatever, talking about loving the Razorbacks and being an in-state kid, and like you said, they want to put the Little Rock hesitancy, whatever, to bed. And, he wanted to play for the Razorbacks, and he's going out there and playing with insane effort and energy, even when he hasn't been 100% healthy. Yeah, I mean, I think he really put to bed any sort of idea of, oh, well, he just wanted to be a draft pick. He's going to sit out for an extended period of time or the whole year and all that sort of stuff. He was injured. He's getting better / got better. And now he's playing and putting up 21 plus points. And it's incredible in the way he's doing it. I've had some friends text me like, oh, I would like to see a little bit more out of Nick Smith, or, I wish he was more dominant at this point if we're talking about him being a top 5 draft pick. My buddy Andrew actually texted me, said, I could see him being a 10th to 15th range in the draft, but don't think he's quite there yet. My response is it was his 3rd game back and he put up over 20 points. And he was 1 for 5 from 3, but I think he was 9 for 15 or something from the field and finishing at the rim and hitting his free throws, playing pretty solid defense for the most part outside of a few miscues and lapses here and there. But like, he's still getting in game shape. He's still getting 100%, and he's still scoring 20 points. So I am more than pleased with where he's at. I love his passion, his energy, and just everything about how he plays the game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, this dude he's only scraping the surface of what he can actually do. And I mean, he said it himself after every game is that he's got to get better defensively. That's kind of what you've seen has been his weak point of his game was his defense. There's been a couple times where he's gotten, given up a blow by, but the fact is he recognizes it and he talks about it in the post game like, yeah, I scored 20 points or whatever, but my defense has to get better. So he's going to work on that. But I mean, he's already getting national recognition. He was co-SEC Freshman of the Week. He was the U.S. Basketball Writers Association National Freshman of the Week. Dick Vitale named him his Diaper Dandy Star of the Week. So he's already getting that, recognition for what he's doing on the court, and it's only going to get better for this Arkansas team. Before we move on, I want to remind you about Bet Saracen. Bet Saracen is the official mobile sports gambling app of HawgBeat.com. We are partnered with them. Every week we do a story breaking down the lines, odds, player props, specials, and we give our picks for the game over on Bet Saracen. So download it on the Google Play Store or the App Store. Bet Saracen. It is the mobile sports gambling app for the Saracen Casino Resort. A lot of great stuff over there. And I love Bet Saracen. I did lose a bet thanks to at Porkshank Redemption over on HawgBeat.com. He said put the farm on Alabama minus 7.5 against Memphis, and that didn't work out. So thanks, Porkshank. I will be having my attorney, who is also my co-host on this podcast, send you a letter in the mail. But yeah, Bet Saracen. We'll have our stuff up there for the game over at HawgBeat.com. The game on Saturday. We'll have that stuff with Bet Saracen, and we appreciate them. Before the game against Oklahoma, I told people on the message board over at HawgBeat.com, I mean, Nick Smith Jr. over 14.5 points seems like free money to me. And sure enough, it was free money. So that's what you get for subscribing to HawgBeat.com. But yeah, Bet Saracen. Love Bet Saracen. Go download it. All right. Ricky Council Jackson. I feel like he's just quietly having like an incredible season. Like we know how good he is. We see his plays. You see the numbers, but 26 points against Oklahoma. Eric Musselman struck gold once again in the transfer portal with a lot of guys, but especially Ricky Council. I mean, he's just having an incredible season, and I think it's overshadowed by the freshmen, like, and not to the fault of the freshmen or anything. It's just, I feel like if you didn't have a guy like Nick Smith or a guy like Anthony Black or a guy like Jordan Walsh, Ricky Council will probably be getting more attention, don't you think?
Yeah, so it's one of those things where this whole roster is almost like obviously it's full of really good players and a lot of talent, and all the pieces are getting like pretty decent coverage and attention and stuff, but it almost does feel like, oh well, the 3 McDonald's All-Americans, and yeah, it kind of makes sense. It's like when's the last time Arkansas signed 3 McDonald's All-Americans? How often do programs in general sign 3 McDonald's All-Americans? Oh, they're all starting. They're all producing, so they're all playing at a high level. And wow, look at Anthony Black shooting 40% from the 3-point line, and oh, Nick Smith is already putting up over 20 points, and oh, okay, now Jordan Walsh is scoring 12 points, and he has over a 7-foot wingspan playing defense at 6'7". So it's like, yeah, you're going to talk about those guys because they're athletic freaks and they're very talented and they came with a lot of hype and notoriety. And I think people have talked about Ricky Council a lot too, because it's impossible not to. He's averaging over 19 points a game, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, positive assist to turnover ratio at that, with the ball in his hands a lot, creating plays. Some of the plays he makes, it's just, I lost count already at how many in-game reverse dunks he's done through traffic, but it's at least 3, and it is rather insane to say the least. I mean, the degree of difficulty on those dunks is so high. And I love Ricky's game so much. He is explosive. He is entertaining. He is very talented. I mean, I think there was one stretch in the Oklahoma game where, or one sequence where he got the ball passed up to him. I can't remember who it was, maybe Anthony Black, and he caught it like at the free throw line and kind of turned around to catch it and then turned back to face the basket. And his first bounce, he runs in, like almost runs into a defender. His first bounce is behind the back sidestep, all in one motion, and then takes it to the rim around the defender. Doesn't take any contact, just an easy finish. And it's just like an insane play. And then I tweeted out too during the game, every single game so far this year, there's been a span where Ricky just takes over. Like he'll score 7, 10, 12 in a row, unanswered points, like, and not miss a shot. It seems like every single game he has done that. And he did it when Arkansas needed him to most against Oklahoma at the end of the first half when they finally took the lead and ended up winning the game. But yeah, he is getting a lot of attention, probably deserves a little bit more, but everybody's going to have to pay attention to the whole roster this year.
Yeah. I mean, the guy leads the SEC in scoring. He just does. And that alone is a feat that is hard to get. And, you know, you look at him in the games, you're talking about it, all the incredible plays he's making. He's got that clutch, being able to just flip the switch and take over. Arkansas has him. They have Nick Smith, who could probably do that. We saw in Maui, Anthony Black can do it at times. This team has so many go-to scorers that can make a play happen that it's going to be clutch come March. But they got 2 more non-conference games until SEC play starts up, and then they'll have 1 more against Baylor in January. But this team right now, I think that they're further along than any team Eric Musselman has had to this point in a season. I think that getting the win over Oklahoma was huge, and you got to get a win over Bradley to break that North Little Rock thing as well.
I will say, I want to go on the record with this.
Okay.
I really do believe that Anthony Black, Nick Smith, and Ricky Council is the best backcourt in college basketball. I will go on record and say that.
I think that's fair. I don't know if I would feel confident enough in saying that because I haven't watched, you know, every team play. But I mean, like, do you think that you've watched enough college basketball and like looked at the stats enough to say that, you know, yeah, I 100% believe in this?
I have not, but I also don't think it matters. The way Ricky Council is leading the SEC in scoring, like you said, Anthony Black just took over in Maui and was averaging over 20 points a game in Maui. And then Nick Smith enters the fold and in 3 games. Well, I mean, technically he's like when you look at his stats, it's counting the 6 minutes he played in his debut coming back from injury. And even including that, he's averaging 15 points a game. I mean, if it's not the best backcourt overall, it's the best scoring backcourt at the very least.
No, I don't think that that's too bold of a statement to make. I think that is probably they're very close. They got to be top 5 for sure. So, they're fun to watch, dude. They're so fun. Every Eric Musselman team has been fun to watch, but just all of the talent this one has. You got my guy Makai Mitchell just tearing it up in the paint. Kamani Johnson's fun to watch. Devo Davis, you know, he does his thing. Elite defender. I mean, you're talking about a team that just up and down, incredible. What stinks is that, as we mentioned, you know, everybody knows about it. Trevon Brazile out for the rest of the season. Might have the play in college basketball, like the best play in college basketball so far this season. And you don't get to watch that guy anymore the rest of this year. It stinks, but they got the depth. They got to figure out this game against Bradley and Little Rock. And I think, you know, the thing about Eric Musselman teams is that no matter what is going on early on in the season, you know that they're going to figure it out down the stretch. So the fact that they're figuring it out now is huge. I mean, they have the chance to be really, really good. I mean, and we know that, but I'm talking like historically good, even as far as Arkansas standards go. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Well, and it's one of those things too where right before the season started, right after the season started in the early periods, Musselman was talking about how much he still needed to see the team improve. And, how much like, oh, we need to get better defensively. Oh, the offense isn't quite there yet. Oh, sometimes we're having to go back and reteach things. And we have no reason to doubt Musselman on saying any of that. Like, that seems very logical, reasonable, and no reason for him to lie about something like that, especially when you have 11 new players on the roster. And if you take that at face value and you think that's true, which I do, and you're already playing this high level basketball this early with this many freshmen and 11 newcomers, like that is scary to think about. If the head coach is even like, no, we still got a lot of work to do. And all right, they're already the metrics on them, their worst is the net, and it's 23rd. Everything else is top 10, top 15 on Sagarin, BPI, like all the NCAA tournament metrics, Ken Palm, like all that sort of stuff. And there's still room to improve. That's scary.
Absolutely. Ironically, Joe Lenardi in his last bracketology, which I think it's been at least a week since he put it out, he had Arkansas playing Bradley. So could be a potential NCAA tournament matchup preview on Saturday. But it is on Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Time. It won't be on TV, so you got to go to HawgBeat.com. Check out our coverage there. We will have Jackson there live. I will have a personal thing going on. And Robert Stewart will be helping out as well. So make sure you're going to HawgBeat.com to check that out. And before we leave, I want to remind you about our friends, as always, from MyPerfectFranchise.net. They are a proud sponsor of HawgBeat.com and the Hardwood Hawgs Podcast. So make sure you're going to MyPerfectFranchise.net if you are a displaced corporate executive and you want to put your career in your own hands. Andy Luedecke, he's a longtime franchise veteran. He's a Rivals member. He's owned multiple franchises and businesses, and he wants to help you do the same through a free and thorough consultation process. All you have to do is call him at 404-973-9901, and you will get set up with a consultation process. It is thorough. They'll take you through all the steps you need to do to become a franchise owner and make some more money. Put some more money in your pocket. Give them a call, 404-973-9901, or visit myperfectfranchise.net. All right, Jackson, appreciate the time. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Once again, visit HawgBeat.com, HawgBeat.com. Follow Jackson on Twitter at Jackson Collier. Myself, I'm at Choate Mason on Twitter. And we'll talk to everybody next week on the Hardwood Hawgs Podcast.